The entire Bernie Sanders DNC data breach is taking a sort of interesting turn. You might remember last week, the Bernie Sanders campaign was in trouble over a breach of data that led the Democratic National Committee to cut off Bernie Sanders' campaign access to the database, but they gave it back after the Bernie Sanders campaign filed the lawsuit. The Sanders campaign also fired the staffer in question, and that is where this is taking an interesting turn. An unnamed Bernie Sanders campaign advisor is implying that the staffer who they fired for breaching that voter data was a plant by the Democratic National Committee. Now, I want to talk about whether breach is even the right word, Lewis, but before we talk about that, the unnamed Sanders advisor spoke with Yahoo News and said that the staffer they fired, whose name is Josh Uretsky, came recommended by not just people close to the DNC, but by NGP Van, which is the firm that the DNC contracted to run the voter database. The advisor said, it's not as if we conjured this guy from thin air. He was reportedly recommended by the DNC's national data director. The advisor is calling this utter hypocrisy. Let's take a look at what he had to say. I mean, here we are being attacked for the behavior of an individual, which we ultimately fired. We agree he acted improperly, but it's just amazing to me that this individual that actually caused this trouble in our campaign was recommended by these guys. Interesting story. I don't think we can say it was a plant at this time, Lewis. It might just have been a really bad recommendation, right?
Yeah, could have been. I think people are starting to reach a little bit. But then again, would it really surprise you, given everything we've heard lately?
We have outlined a number of ways, any number almost, of ways in which the DNC appears to be putting its hand on the scale to help Hillary Clinton. This involves a more broad-reaching conspiracy of recommending someone who then you will ultimately blame for having breached data. And by the way, I don't know that the term breach is correct here. There was no firewall, right? There was a glitch which just opened the data. So to say that there was any hacking or breach, I think is factually wrong. There was a security lapse by the DNC's vendor who ran this database, but I don't even know that the term breach is accurate here.
Well, I don't know, because I'm thinking of laws which would kind of make this okay, the ag-gag law, for example.
Yeah.
Now, you may be standing on the road next to one of these factory farms. You can see it. Everyone can see it. You can fly over it. But as soon as you take a picture, it's illegal.
Even
right?
if you've not forced your way in, so to speak.
Right. Yes.
Interesting.
It kind of reminds me of a similar situation in a way. But
yeah,
I mean, did anything even illegal happen in this particular case? By the law.
Yeah, I don't know that this is a question. No, this is not a question of legality.
Right.
No, certainly not. I mean, I think that the point is that this was unethical and that they're not supposed to have access to that data. Therefore, they should not have generated those voter lists. In any case, this has taken an interesting turn now, and we'll follow it and see what ultimately happens.